The Bulls blew a 21-point lead. The Chicago Bulls blew a 21-point lead. I mean, I guess we shouldn't be all that surprised at this point. That's this team's MO, but blowing a 21-point lead to a team you're tied with in the standings, who was on a 7-game losing streak and without their best player, especially after coming off such a great game against the Atlanta Hawks, is just so comically bad. This was a tale of two halves in this one, because honestly, watching the first half and factoring in all the Bulls' recent games, including the game against the Warriors, I legitimately thought maybe the Bulls have finally figured it out. They have figured out how to play together, and maybe the Bulls have finally turned a corner in their season. For those that don't know, I jot down notes throughout the game and use them as talking points in my videos, and I kid you not, second quarter when the Bulls went up by 20 points, I wrote down, the Bulls have turned their season around, and I feel confident in saying that. Word for word, that's what I wrote. Should have known to never get that comfortable in anything when it comes to this team. Now granted, the Bulls looked great in the first half, like we need to emphasize that point. It was to the point where I was chalking this up as a blowout. I could probably start working on my video early during garbage time. The Bulls took care of business against the teams they needed to right ahead of them in the standings. So I say this because you have to hope that the second half was just a bad half, an isolated incident, right? Second game of back-to-back and the guys simply just got tired. But at the same time, it would be different if we hadn't been seeing this kind of thing all season long. Getting outscored 70-48 in the second half and completely collapsing in the final minutes of the fourth quarter was just so typical of this team. A few callouts from this game. Speaking of the collapse, I mean, I hate to say it, but this one falls pretty hard on Zach Lavine. I'm not saying this loss as a whole falls on Zach because the whole team was to blame for that, which I'll explain what I mean by that in a little bit, but for Zach Lavine, missing a wide open Alex Caruso under the basket down 2. Caruso turns the ball over on the inbound in the ensuing possession, and that was bad too. Lavine jacks up a 3 to try and save the game after they turn the ball over on that last play. He clanks it, turns the ball over on a travel the next possession, which by that point the game was already over. But it was more than just those final plays. Zach Lavine playing on the ball in late game situations, we should know this by now, is never going to be a good outcome when the opposing team has all the momentum going on a comeback. He is not the guy you want handling the ball in those moments. He just isn't. Too many times we've seen him make basic mistakes, whether it be turning the ball over or taking an ill-advised shot without setting up a play. And most of all in all of this, if Zach's hand is actually banged up, whether it's a contusion or a torn ligament, like Zach mentioned, but then the Bulls said that was actually not true, that was awkward, I understand if he's able to play through it. But there is something to be said about the way Zach has been playing when you see him turning the ball over by simply just losing his dribble. That happened like 3 or 4 times in this game, and we saw it happen a couple times last night against the Atlanta Hawks. Sure, it could be Zach just causing bad turnovers, but it's pretty uncharacteristic of him to just lose the ball off his dribble that consistently anyway. Clearly something isn't right with that hand, and if that's the case, why is he handling the ball down the stretch? I really just don't get it. Lavine tonight, 6 turnovers, 14 points on 4 for 14 shooting, 0 for 7 from 3. Just a bad game for Zach, which is unfortunate. He's having these issues with his hand given he was looking to finally starting to make strides and looking like the old Zach Lavine from the beginning of last season. But I don't want to just go all in on Zach here and act like he's the sole reason the Bulls blew this game, because really this boils down to the difference in two halves. In the first half, the Bulls played team basketball, similar to what we saw the last couple of games that enabled them to be so successful in offense. In the first half, guys were moving the ball around, playing smart, getting Vucevic involved early, playing with speed and pace. And then the second half, completely different story. The offense was stagnant, all isolation ball in the half court, very little ball movement, no passing, sloppy ball handling with guys just dribbling out the clock, looking to get to their spots. How many times do we have to go through this to know that this type of play doesn't win basketball games? What is Billy Donovan saying to these guys in the huddle? Is he just not saying anything and hoping that this type of play sticks? Or is he getting in the guys' ears and they're just straight up not listening? I don't even know at this point, because we hear different things in the post-game interviews from Billy Donovan and the players on the messaging being sent to them. Give the Pacers a ton of credit though, because this is a team that has been down in the dumps, losing 7 straight. They come out very flat, can't hit their shots, turning the ball over, falling asleep on defense. They came out of the locker room on a mission and kept fighting, slowly working their way back into the game. They played incredible defense, forcing all those turnovers, got the crowd back into it and the momentum on their side. I don't know how, but TJ McConnell was working the Bulls in this one. Never thought I would say that. Mathurin, the rookie out of Arizona, out there playing with a ton of confidence and looking like a veteran, hitting big shots after big shot down the stretch. So I don't want to make this all about the Bulls just playing bad, because they did. The Pacers stepped up and came out looking to turn the game around and end their losing streak. Man, looking at some of the box score numbers for the Bulls in this one, 19 assists as a team. Vucevic leading the team in assists again. It's a problem when your center is more often than not leading the entire team in assists, and he averages a little over 3 assists per game on the season. It's not like this is Nikola Jokic out there who's putting up over 8 assists per game. Bulls shot 20% from 3, 5 for 24. Not too bad from the field, 49% overall. And that's what makes the game, and the loss more frustrating is it's not like the Pacers shot the ball exceptionally well. One of the better three-point shooting teams in the league, and they shot 27% from deep. Buddy Hield was 4 for 11 tonight from 3 when he's been one of the best three-point shooters in the league this season. 16 turnovers for the Bulls compared to the Pacers' 6. Overall defensive rating was poor. Look, you get it. It was a bad game. I don't need to go through the entire box score to illustrate that. One positive I think we can take away from this game, if there is any, is that a loss like this hopefully means the front office won't just sit by idle at the trade deadline, because there was a piece of me even, after seeing the Bulls play well and with some consistency and the big three finally looking like they knew how to play together, part of me was saying maybe the Bulls don't need to make any drastic moves at the trade deadline if these guys have finally gotten their act together. But a loss like this, a collapse in the second half, shouldn't make the front office too comfortable to just sit there on their hands and do nothing. Like, changes still need to be made. This roster isn't it. So hopefully the recent wins didn't give them a false sense of security that continuity trumps all. I guess that's not really that much of a positive to take away from the game, but what can you do? The Bulls blew a big lead to a team that they should have beat. Next up, though, the Bulls have the Hornets, one of the worst teams in the NBA. No idea how the game is going to go through, though, because you never know with this team anymore. I'll have a live chat for the game. Be sure to subscribe if you enjoy a good Bulls therapy session after losses like these. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.